So predictable profit, that's going to be the topic we're going to be talking about today. And, we spend a lot of times in our business making sure our clients are happy, making sure the product we put in, the service we provide is at the top of our game. We don't spend a whole lot of time looking internally at our business, at our business and seeing how we can improve our business internally. So over the next hour or 45 minutes or so, we're going to be going over the ways that I've learned to improve our company's business, create a better environment for our employees, and ultimately create a better customer experience. So real quick overview of the last 30 years of my life. My parents started the company in '86, basically out of a need to provide more income for our family. And over the next 10 to 15 years, my mom and dad grew the company and surpassed the $1 million mark, which if you are in a small business or started a small business, you know how big of an accomplishment that is. Shortly thereafter, I joined the company in about 2007 and kind of had an option to either go to college or dive right into the family company. And I chose to dive right into the family company, and the timing could not have been better, as we all know what happened in '08. So, I really grew up in the environment of scratching and crawling for every single dollar of revenue. And we dropped from, $1.8 million to probably about 800,000 or 900,000 almost overnight. So you can imagine the challenges that brings a family company, especially with so many long-term employees. The challenge was, who do we let go, who do we keep? And probably the biggest thing we talk about is we really didn't let our employees go as quick as we should have. That's our big lesson that we learned during that recession. So we climbed back, and in 2013, we landed a really, really great contract, and it ended up being about a $1.2 million installation project that really slingshotted us into the booming economy we're in today. So, about 2015 is when everything really changed within our family business. After 30 years, my parents decided to get a divorce and go separate directions. My mom was always the bookkeeper, did the whole back office. She invoiced, payroll, all that. My dad was out in the field, making sure the landscaping was put in properly. So if you can imagine, my mom decided to move out of the business. My brother and I had the opportunity to buy in, which was awesome and exciting. But at the same time, we were left with this challenge of how do we run the back office. I didn't go to college for finance. I don't have a CPA degree or anything. So, we basically were left to fend for ourselves. But I surrounded myself with the right people, and the first person that I brought on was a business coach, and that really made all the difference. So 2015, we established core values, we established a vision, we established where we are headed. We put in what we call our big, hairy, audacious goal, which is 30 million by 2030. Another way we say it is 300 employees by 2030. And it's a way for our stakeholders, our employees, our clients, our vendors to really understand where we're going as a business. And 2015, 25-year-old young buck kid saying that they're going to build this business into 30 million, everyone kind of was like, oh, okay, we'll see how that goes. But here we are now, 5 years down the road, we're running at about 10 million. And I'm excited to share with you guys really in depth what we've learned over the last 5 years, our challenges of implementing technology, our success of implementing technology, and ultimately our ability to really write our future and create a predictable profit in a fast-growing company. Okay, so there's me and my brother, what probably would be early 90s, hanging out on the job site, which we did often. My dad was awesome, brought us to the job site on Saturdays, and I remember the summers between school, we'd always get a ride with him in the truck and go to the job site, and that was a great experience back then. And let's see, here we are today. This is our company today, and if you guys all have tried to get a company picture, you know how hard it is to get every single employee in one place at once, but it's about 90% of our company here, and a great group of people. I was featured on the cover of Lawn and Landscape in August, talking about growing what we know, growing our residential sector, which we kind of neglected after the recession, but in about 2017, we reinvested and grew our residential department from basically nothing to a $3 million department within our company. So that's been exciting. This year, we were honored as the Business of the Year for our local Santa Cruz, or our Pajaro Valley Chamber of Commerce, which is a huge honor. You know, a third generation Pajaro Valley citizen. It's just a great honor to be rewarded in your community for something like this. First time a landscape company's been awarded for that. So that was a great honor for us. And I define predictable profit in one way. It's the ability to set a financial goal and come within 5% of that target metric. And the reason I pick 5% is if you go any more, if you miss your revenue target by 10%, and then you miss your gross profit target by 10%, and then you miss your overhead target, you spent too much on overhead, by the time you get down to your net profit, you could be left with almost nothing. It's a compounding effect. But if you can shoot for 5% on all 3 of those or 4 of those key metrics, the ability to bring in a predictable profit at the end of the year is within grasp. So what's a KPI? What's a metric? So for me, KPIs are key performance indicators. It's the top 3 to 5 things that you need to know within your business on a weekly basis. Metrics, you know, we have probably thousands of metrics we can measure in our business, from revenue to net profit to gross profit to asset allocation and current ratio and all this balance sheet stuff. So, you know, we can go really deep into the metric side, and there's a lot of great technology next door that provides more metrics than you will ever have time to look at. But the KPIs are what you pick. The KPIs are the 3 to 5 things that you put your 100% focus on. You measure those weekly. Setting goals is a way to build confidence with your team. So when we set goals and achieve those goals, you get a little, Gabe talked about it yesterday. It's a little dopamine hit, right? And we're all addicted to dopamine now with our Instagram and constant reassurance. So you need to give your team that reassurance. You need to give your team that ability to set a goal and the ability to hit that goal. Now, goal setting is not always easy. And I compare it to golf. Do we have any golfers in the room in here? Yeah, there's a few out there. So if you guys know what I mean, goal setting is a lot like golf. If you're ever out there on the tee box, you're aiming right down the middle. You got your driver out, you're wanting to shoot maybe 240, 250, middle of the fairway. And what happens on the first tee box usually? You know, hopefully you don't hit a house, but it usually doesn't end up in the fairway. You might end up having to take a mulligan. But goal setting is very similar to that. You set a goal. You want to be in the middle of the fairway. You want to be at this certain place. And you end up, on your first time, being way far out. You end up in the trees. And you don't get discouraged. You know, you keep hitting the ball, and finally, after 10 or 15 strokes, you get in the hole. But goal setting is very similar to that. So don't be discouraged if you set a goal on the first time through, you don't hit your target. It's totally okay to readjust, set another goal, and continue on your mission. So that's a big one for me is when you're first setting goals, it's not going to happen every time. So don't be too hard on yourself there. So I'm going to go over 6 key areas that I've identified in our business, and I think that you guys can help put these to play in your business. Gives you some areas to focus on. I really encourage you guys to take notes. You know, for me, I probably remember about 10% of what I hear. But when I write it down, it goes up to maybe 50 or 60%. So I encourage you guys to write these down. Real quick, before you guys fall asleep, can I get a raise of hands? Who here is in a family business? Family dynamics. Wow. It's probably like 70% of the room. Who here is a second-generation business owner or hopes to become a second-generation business owner and take over a family's company? All right, a few of us in here. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate the involvement there. So first and foremost, you need a vision. You need to know where are you going in your business and, you know, kind of get your team all together to focus and go towards a common goal. Number 2 is culture. Creating an unstoppable force. Creating a culture that's so strong that even when you're out of the office in Florida at a conference, your team's still at home, you know, starting the day at 6 a.m., making sure everything happens, running into problems, running into challenges, and utilizing your culture to make those decisions. So that way, your phone hopefully isn't ringing off the hook because you have the team in place who have the confidence, the core values, and the culture really to make those tough decisions. Whenever my team falls back into a situation where they don't know the answer, they reach out to me. I rarely give out answers. I'm always asking them questions to help them come up with the solutions. And I usually just ask them, well, what do our core values say to do in this situation? And it usually helps guide them to the answer. Number 3, is sales and estimating. And I think this is something that we all kind of take for granted. We're not tied to a specific product as landscape professionals. We're providing a service. We're estimating our labor. We're estimating our materials. We're estimating our overhead. We have the ability to tell our clients how much they need to pay. And it's very, very difficult for clients to compare two companies when you set up your proposals and you set up your presentation in the right way. Price can sometimes not be a factor. Sometimes it is. But if you don't have the right pricing structure in place, you're starting out in the hole, and that's not a good place to be. So number 4 is marketing and strategic innovation. And another group participation. How many people here have a marketing issue? Raise your hand. Okay, few of us. The most of us today in the industry, we have more clients than we have labor, right? So our biggest issue is finding and creating talent and retaining that talent, where in a down economy back in 08, 09, our biggest challenge was marketing and bringing clients and making our phone ring, right? So we're kind of in a different cycle today, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be pointing attention and focus and energy into marketing, because as we all know, this is a cyclical kind of industry. Sooner or later, the pendulum will swing and we'll all be fighting over our clients again, and we'll have plenty of labor. Number 5 is execution. And let's be honest, this is where we spend 95% of our time, mostly, as business owners. We're making sure that the product gets there, the teams have what they need, the equipment's there, the directions are clear, and they're putting in everything they need to be putting in properly. And number 6, finally, and for me this is the most important, is financial optics. I don't really like to say finances or financial data or anything. I like to talk about financial optics because it's easy to connect with. It's what do you see financially upcoming. You need to be able to understand what's coming up in the future from a financial optics standpoint. And, we're not financial whizzes, most of us here in the landscape industry. I know I'm not. So, it's really surrounding yourself with the right person. And the best thing that I ever did was I went out and found the best CFO I possibly could find. I paid her a huge salary, but I tell you what, it is the best thing I ever did because I have financial optics on a day-to-day basis. Right now, it's about 6:20. About 10 or 15 minutes, I'll be getting an email showing me exactly what's in my bank account, the balance on my line of credit, what's my AR, what's my AP, and a few other KPIs that I have her send me every single morning. We call it a flash report. And that's something she helped create. It's a great tool. So over the next 15 minutes, we're going to dive in to each one of these buckets. And as I go through these buckets, I encourage questions. So if you guys have a question that comes to mind, raise your hand. We have a few mic runners, but the room's pretty small, so you could probably just speak up. Don't be afraid to ask questions as I go through this presentation. So first off, vision and roadmap. Like we said, what's the future look like? We like to break it up into 3 buckets. First year, very clear. We know exactly how many employees we're going to be at the end of the year. We know exactly our revenue, our gross profit, our net profit. We hopefully know somewhere around asset allocation. What does our balance sheet look like at the end of the year? And, how are we explaining that to our team? Do they understand where we're going? Do they buy into the vision that as business owners, CEOs, and visionaries, you're creating? What are your SMART goals for 2020? So if folks don't know what a SMART goal is basically setting something that's specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time sensitive. So it's not, I want to be a profitable business by the end of the year. It's, I want to attain a 10% net profit by December 31st. So setting SMART goals that are specific and time measurable are very important as part of this process. Number 3 here is how are you communicating this to your stakeholders? Are you explaining to your team? Are you explaining to your suppliers, maybe your subcontractors and your bank, that in 10 years, I want to quadruple the size of my business? For us, In 2015, we were going around telling everyone, hey, we want to be 30 million by 2015, and we need your help to do it. The amount of buying power that I immediately created was kind of something I didn't expect. But I started having suppliers coming by the office on a regular basis. Our bank went from giving us a $100,000 line of credit to $500,000 line of credit simply because they bought into my vision and the company's vision of becoming this larger company. They wanted to get in early with us and become a partner with us. So if your goal is to go from 1 or 2 million to 10 million, tell your folks, tell your employees. You know, it's something that has a lot of power to it. Your team needs a direction to march towards. And when you give them something to strive for, they're going to try to get there. If they don't know where they're going, how hard should they be working? They really don't know. But if we're going to go from 1 million today to 10 million in 5 years, they're going to need to work their butts off, and there's a reward in it for them. I was interviewing someone about 3 months ago, and they were coming from a very prestigious company, national company, and I'm like, why are you leaving this great, so-called great company? And what he told me really surprised me, but it showed how important the vision is. He said, Justin, I love the company, I love the people I work with, I have no idea where we're going. We were acquired 6 months ago. They're out selling again. I don't know the direction of the company. I don't know the direction of my position. I don't know if my position is going to be around. And he was unclear. It was foggy for him. So he didn't know how hard he should work. He didn't know if his job had security. So when he came in to interview with me, first thing I did was I have a little PowerPoint I put together. It takes about 5 minutes. And I said, this is K&D, and this is K&D in 10 years. And I painted a picture for him, something that was so clear that he couldn't wait to get on the team. And today that employee works for us, and he's one of our top account managers. And it goes to show how important that vision is. And if you're not communicating your vision to your team, there's a chance that they're a little confused, and they may be looking to move. So make sure you guys communicate that, and you build that career ladder for your employees. So number 2 is unstoppable culture. And if you guys, I'm sure you've read a lot about the millennials and what's happening with the millennials. And well, today they're 35% of our workforce, which is the biggest generation sector. They're big on culture, let's face it. You read the articles, you read the studies, they're starting to actually put culture above pay. And working at a company that has values, that has a purpose, that ties to their passions and can make a difference in the community means more to them than maybe a $5,000 or $10,000 difference in salary. And I can speak from experience that I have hired people that had offers on the table for 10 or 15% more than what they were getting paid because the culture was magnetic. And you want your culture to be magnetic. Core values are so important. And a lot of people think of core values as, kind of corporate BS and just some things on the wall. But there's a way to bake core values into your operation. And when you bake the core values into your operation, they become a part of your day-to-day everything. So every week we have a core value of the week. And we vote as a team who was the most hungry or the most professional or the best team player that week or that month, and we give out a gift card. And they get to take their family out to dinner, and their family, hey, why'd you get a gift card? Well, I was voted the best team player in my company this week. And it's amazing the type of recognition that can create and the drive to become part of those core values. So you really got to work on that and make it incentivizes the employees to become part of the culture. Core purpose is another big ingredient for culture. It's your why. Simon Sinek talks about it. People don't buy what you sell, they buy why you do it. And you need to have a why behind your business. We started out in '86, and the why was we needed to, my dad needed to make more money to provide for a growing family. That was a great why, and it served him for a very long time. But in 2015, that why didn't resonate with the entire team, and we needed something different. And what we came to after about 2 years of going back and forth and a lot of brainstorm was our why at K&D is to raise the bar in the landscape industry. That's why I'm here today. That's why I flew across the country to be with you guys today and to attend this conference is I believe in the industry and I believe in raising the bar. Question? Absolutely. I appreciate that because the vocabulary can change. And the mission statement is basically the same thing as our core purpose. And so we've kind of rebranded the mission statement into a core purpose. And so instead of having our mission statement, we used to have a great mission statement on our website, and it was a big paragraph. To be honest, I don't think anyone read it. They probably read the first sentence. I didn't read it enough. And I sure as hell couldn't recite it to you. So what we decided is we came up with a core purpose. It's simple. It's 5 to 7 words. Raise the bar in the landscape industry. It's something that you can ask any one of our employees. You can ask the guy that was hired 2 weeks ago, and I guarantee that he knows what our core purpose is because we just drill it into every single person during their onboarding. Right people in the right seats. And let me stress, you can have the right person in your company, have them in the wrong seat, and you're gonna have some serious troubles. Probably gonna have some disciplinary issues, some absenteeism, and some other challenges. Even though they're just the best person, the great employee, they may be doing the wrong thing. You may be having them in a sales and estimating role, but they hate talking to people. And you may have someone as a foreman because they've been there for 20 years, but they're not a great leader of people. So it's really important that we don't just promote based on seniority, but we promote based on the best person for that position. And, one thing we talk about at K&D is we're promoting based on our core values. So if they're a great fit for our core values and they're a great fit for that seat and they earn that promotion, whether they've been there for 1 year, 10 years, or 20 years, we're going to look at everyone basically the same. We're going to give everyone the same opportunity to move up in the company based on merit, not on seniority. And I'll be honest, we've lost some employees because of that. But it's something that we've dedicated to, and today our business is much smoother because we have people who are humble and willing to work in a position, even though they've been there for a long time, under someone who's been there less time because they do not want to be a leader. We've given them that opportunity. Pay always becomes an issue, but you can work that out. At the end of the day, you need to analyze your people. I recommend on a 6-month and definitely on an annual basis, look at every single person in your operation. Are they the right person for that seat? And more times than not, we'll find that 5 to 10% of our people are really not in the right seat. And once we make that move, they're happier, we're happier, and the business succeeds. I talked about this earlier, magnetic culture. We're in an industry that labor is tight. I was reading an article that this is the worst time ever to hire employees. It's the hardest time. We have less young people coming into our industry, specifically as landscapers, and we have more people exiting as they retire. So having a magnetic culture that actually attracts and retains employees is something that's extremely important today, and I think will only get more important as the years go on over the next 5 to 10 years. So focus on that. Focus on a culture that actually attracts people to your business instead of having to rely on marketing. We have shirts like this all over. We do this once a month, once every quarter. We'll do a new print of shirts, and we'll build in the core values. We'll do one down the sleeve. We'll do core values across the front, across the back here. And this is a way that we just celebrate our core values. And, the team's proud of this. I'll see some of the employees on the weekend, and it's kind of funny. They'll be out wearing their K&D gear. They're fans of the business. They're fans of the brand. And they don't, I don't think they get off work and take their work clothes off. They'll probably take their dirty clothes off, but they have so much K&D gear that we've given them that it's really more of a brand and they're fans of it. They want to wear the K&D gear, and so we try to make it fun for everyone. So number 3 is sales and estimating. Man, sales and estimating is your ability to write your future, your ability to build in your profitability of your company. And technology is so important for this. We have a just huge amount of people in the exhibitor hall that have great estimating technology. And for us, when I started working in the business, our estimating was by hand. It's, let's plug $5,000 in for labor and let's throw in a couple hundred for materials and let's mark that up by 20%. There we go, that's our price. That's how we did it. And when we had to go from owner estimating, where you as the owner are the only one estimating, to employee estimating, the transition requires technology. The transition is not something that you can use Excel spreadsheets and back of the napkin hand calcs and expect to have consistent estimating and consistent profitability. Are you increasing your pricing as fast as your costs are climbing? Probably not. If you're not updating your pricing every 3 months, you are losing some money until you update it again. Again, technology offers us the ability to create budgets, and that automatically builds in to our estimate. So if we go in and we plug in our revenue and how much plants we expect to spend and how much material overhead, we plug our budgets in, boom, boom, it automatically marks up our labor, our materials, depending on what technology and software you're using, to recover that overhead and to recover that material and to make sure that you're sustaining a profitability that is what you need. Your sales and estimating KPIs, and this goes back to the key performance indicators. Are you measuring the right things? Are you making sure that you're yes?
Question back on sales and estimating.
Yeah, so there's a lot, and there's a few different softwares depending on what sector you're in. You know, there's some that work better for maintenance. There's some that work better for custom residential, design build. There's some that work better for commercial bid build. And we kind of have a mix of all, and I could explain more after the session and tell you specifically what we use for each one. I think the important thing is when you're selecting a technology is you identify what are you using this technology for? What sector are you going to be really operating in? And if it's all three, well then maybe there's something that can work for all three. And also the size, because if you have maybe $1 million or $2 million in revenue, it does not make sense to have 3 different technologies and 3 different softwares. You're not going to be able to afford it, and your team's going to hate you for it. So as you scale, there's different softwares and technology that works for different size companies. So there's a lot of factors that go into that selection. And I'm more than happy. I'll share my contact info with you folks, and more than happy to talk to you guys and help you guys select the best technology and the best software for your specific situation. So the estimating KPIs are important because your close rate will help you determine where your pricing needs to be. So market drives pricing, so do you, but sometimes in a down economy, we can't pick our price. We can't name our price. Today, we have a pretty awesome situation where, at least in the Bay Area there, we could just about name any price we want and sell a job. It's not always going to be the case, so it's important to know what your close rate is. If you're closing 50% of the jobs, then you need to lower your prices. If you're closing 50%, you probably need to up your prices a little bit. But if you're closing 10%, 1 out of 10, you need to lower your prices a little bit. So you can see how the close rate kind of correlates to the pricing there. Marketing innovation. So I'm going to skip this because we're kind of running short on time and we don't have a lot of marketing issues, but I'm more than happy to share this with you guys at another time. Basically, we take the approach of fandom. We try to create fans of our business, turn clients and customers into fans. They go out and they do the marketing for us, word of mouth. It's how we get 80% of our work still today. Here's some fans right here. And this is what we're all about. So some nieces and nephews here, they get their K&D gear every Christmas. And let me tell you, they rock this at school. They show up to all their parties with it. They're fans of the business. And we do the same for our clients and customers, family and friends. World-class execution. Execution is the name of the game for us. Payroll is usually 30 to 40% of our business. And if your execution is lagging and not in play and where you need it to be, you can be the best estimator in the world, but if you don't have the team out there executing to the goals that are required, you're going to miss the mark every time. And this is something we've struggled with in the residential sector. We went from big commercial installs to doing these really high-end residential where the clients are picking apart every little thing down to, I don't like how you cut this stone, or that plant's like an inch short than that plant, I want it replaced. It's pretty crazy what you get into. I'm sure you guys can relate to some of these challenges. Yes, sir. It's combined, actually. So 30, 40% I look at is your total payroll. And for us, our weekly payroll is up about 100,000 a week. It's crazy. I can't even believe it's that high, but that's where we're at. And, yeah. And so it's important that we're using every single person, including estimators, project managers, finance team, admin, to the best of our ability, including us as owners, that we're efficient with our time, because at the end of the day, we're on the payroll as well. Training and improving your talent is a great way to improve loyalty and also to improve execution. Setting expectations is something that a lot of people fall short on. It's something that I struggle with every single day. It's a lot of times of, okay, let's put this project in, this is how I want it done, 150 square feet of pavers, a few lights, a few plants, get it done. Leave the job. 3 days later, I come back like, I thought we were supposed to be done by now. Well, I didn't communicate the timeline. I left out one of the biggest expectations. And my employee, he didn't understand. He thought he had a week to do the job when I thought he had 3 days. So if you're off on your expectations, this could really mess up your execution. Number 6, and for me, one of the most important is financial optics, understanding the financial optics within your business and being able to see those clearly. So having financial optics can help make technology purchasing easier. I mean, when we talk about technology purchase, we throw out a big word called ROI, return on investment. You'll hear the software guys talk about it to you, and if you don't know what your financial situation is, how are you ever going to manage and measure your return on investment? So it's really important that we know our numbers. If you don't know your numbers, you really don't know your business. And when you know your numbers, you're going to be able to make smarter financial purchases. You're going to know if there's one technology or one software you can spend a little more for that works for your entire company, or what other options and different segments of the technology and software you need to bring into your business. Depending on your size and your profitability, you're constrained to how much you can spend on technology. So it's super important that you know your numbers to make a great financial technology purchase. Technology makes our data way easier to understand. If anyone's ever tried to read a report out of QuickBooks, there's a lot of numbers right there, and it just kind of glosses over for me. But a lot of this software provides these nice, fancy, colorful graphs and all these, dials and ratios, and it makes it easier to look at the data. It makes your team's ability to connect with the data much easier. So instead of only one person in the company understanding the financial reports, you can have your entire company understand financial reports. We have our laborers who have KPIs, and they measure their reporting, they measure their data on a weekly and monthly basis. The technology out there provides us with real time in the field. I can pull my phone out, and I can look at where my company is real time at every moment. So technology really can help you achieve that financial clarity in the optics with the company. What's your number one critical number? And I stress this is so important for you guys. Pick this before you leave this weekend. What's the one thing this year that you want to measure, that you want to focus on, and put intense focus into that? For us, this year is cash flow. We're a quick growing company. A lot of companies die from indigestion, not starvation. So I'll say that again. Most companies go out of business because they run out of cash, not running out of work. So if you don't measure your cash flow when you're growing, you're going to find yourself all of a sudden, that customer didn't pay, that customer didn't pay. Oh, I got to pay this vendor, and all of a sudden I don't have money for payroll. Well, in our 35 years of business, we've never missed a week of payroll, not once. And I'm never going to miss a week of payroll because I manage my cash flow. So if you're planning on growing your business and you're wanting to go from 1 or 2 to 5, 7, 10, 30, 50 million, cash flow is probably going to be one of your most important numbers. If you're just working on profitability, maybe it's net profit. Maybe it's sustainable income, recurring maintenance income. Whatever it is, pick your number one critical number each year and write it out big and measure that every single day. Yes? Our average right now is 38 days. So for when I spend $1 out of my bank account, it takes about 38 days for me to get that $1 back into my bank account. And hopefully I get more than $1, right? Hopefully I get $1.50 or $2 back for the $1 I spend. But knowing that cash conversion cycle is extremely important. I just look, for me, my critical number is cash flow in the way of how much money did I bring in yesterday and how much money did I spend yesterday. And we look at that on a daily basis, a weekly, a monthly, a quarterly, and then finally an annual basis. And I have my bank working with us with a line of credit to make sure that we have enough cash to sustain our business. Question? Correct. So we utilize QuickBooks, and there's been a lot of discussion in our company about moving to something else, but actually after yesterday, I had some great conversations with some folks next door, and if you guys have questions on that stuff, go talk to them next door, pick a booth. But what we're doing is we're utilizing QuickBooks as our basis, our foundation, and then we're building on to QuickBooks utilizing the software available for our industry. So QuickBooks kind of houses all of our fundamental financials, and then we're utilizing software and building onto that to allow us the ability to be industry specific. And my goal is to actually continue to scale the company utilizing QuickBooks while also utilizing this software and technology to help make that happen. Yes, sir? Yeah, we tried that for a little bit. We don't. It takes about 4 hours a week. We've got about 100 employees. I have a payroll specialist. She's payroll and compliance specialist. She's great at payroll. We have a lot of control over it. It depends on your specific situation. We had the ability, if someone in the company who's actually my cousin, part of the family, she's not going anywhere, I can trust her to be there every week. I have 2 other people trained on doing payroll if she's out, so we have that flexibility. But it is a challenge when you start to grow to continue to keep that in-house. And depending on your situation, I recommend talking to some of those people. No matter if you have 3 employees or 300 employees, it's important to look at outsourcing your payroll, see if that makes sense for your business. So if you haven't looked at it, I'd recommend just taking a look and looking at the cost. For us, it's not making sense quite yet.
So you got about 100 employees?
Yes. So our employee return, our goal is a 4-to-1. So, basically for every $1 we spend in payroll, we hope to get $4 in revenue. And I mentioned payroll, 30 to 40% of your costs and all that kind of stuff, but that's our target. And you want to make sure you have those targets set in place. Any more questions out there right now? Yes, sir. I am. Oh yeah, and I don't plan on getting rid of them anytime soon. We kind of laugh about it. I tell them all the time, I don't need you anymore. But the truth is, I do. It's Jonathan Goldhill is his name, and I'd be more than happy. I'll share my email here real quick. If you guys want to write that down, shoot me an email. I'll be more than happy to share his info. Yes? Yeah, it definitely does. And I've actually looked at a few different softwares. I don't think anyone's here today representing a culture technology, but there's a lot of options out there to actually measure your employee engagement, and measure what are you getting with your employees. What are the pain points that your employees have that they're not communicating to you? And a lot of this software gives them the chance to communicate and give you feedback anonymously, so that way they can share with you their pain points and you can actually act on those. So, I don't know any of them off the top of my head, but, until you get big, you guys can self-manage your culture within your own company, but there are some great technology options out there to help with your business. So we're about out of time, folks. So I want to thank you guys for participation and coming here today, and appreciate the time. Thank you.